My name is Gary Plotner. My wife and I have lived here 35 years. 1985 was when we moved in. But during that period of time was mainly life goes on, and except in 1991, things changed. You know, it changed forever. Let's put it that way. During the event of the fire, when people were evacuating, we had an opportunity to stick around a while to gather stuff. And we were able to leave the house in somewhat of an orderly manner. And we thought, well, that's that. And so the next morning we hiked up the panoramic ridge above the campus, and we were able to see our house is still there. We got back into the house about a week later. And so then life starts to come back to normal as normal can be. And we decided that, well, we need to think about emergencies. And at that time, the core program evolved. And we decided that, well, we should become involved in some form of self-preparedness. Up until then, just like everyone else, one day is like another. You don't have to take into account what might happen. You never worry about it. We're all like, keep our head in the sand. And anyway, I became very active in emergency communication. At the time, I was unaware of all the methods available. There were no cell phones. We had a landline. The landline kept working during the power outage during the fire. We had a landline going on for the duration of the week. It was amazing. And so we taught everyone, okay, you gotta have a landline. Well, we decided that I needed to do more than that. So I went into emergency communication through the core program. I taught radio communication in the core program. I obtained my amateur radio license, and with that, I became more involved in a professional way of emergency communication, realizing that amateur radio has a lot to offer. And with that comes, of course, all the toys that one accumulates. You have an emergency telephone that's hooked up by my own mesh net. I'm independent of the internet. I have my own internet. So these things are all available to you. We're communicating right now, but if it comes up, we'll see. It may not. We're communicating with the world on a worldwide net. Anywhere in the world, I can actually hear people talking from everywhere in Russia, Europe, China. They're all communicating on a worldwide net. So you have an amazing resource. This map shows my house on a world net. Thank you. So with the advent of digital radio and amateur radio, which was analog and digital, you're able to communicate in an emergency in any form. For instance, I'll do something that would be normal in an exercise. I'm on what's referred to as a NBJ repeater, which is located up on Grizzly Peak. This is K6 GWP testing. What you just heard was a beep. I'm going to try this again. Try it one more time. K6 GWP testing. Yeah.
K6 repeat, this is KK6OZU. How do you read me?
They read you loud and clear, a little bit of noise, but otherwise you're good. Thank you very much for the feedback. K6 GWP, clear. So,
KK6OZU, standing by.
So what you just heard is my voice at the repeater, and anyone from Petaluma, San Francisco, Walnut Creek, San Jose could hear my voice. And so that gives you a very wide range of communication. And then with other repeaters, they can hear you around the world. So amateur radio is an excellent tool to have in the event of emergency communication. In our community now, we have a very active group called Gen Oak, which is put together by a friend of mine, Doug, and we're using GMRS radios, which is similar to this one, and neighbors are able to communicate on those bands provided by the FCC in emergency communication. And so I would highly recommend that community members become familiar with this methodology, as cell phones can be somewhat problematic in an emergency. Everybody wants to get on their cell phone. Texting does work, but these radios are free of any infrastructure requirements. As long as you have fresh batteries and you know the protocol of how to push the buttons, it'll work. And so I would suggest that our neighbors become involved and they buy a set of FRS or GMRS radios. And there's dozens of operators, FCC licensed operators here in the hills, that are more than willing to teach you how to use those. You have to be prepared, and you have to take your own initiative. The city can only do so much. You have to be able to take the initiative and move on. I think just be prepared and make your own plan on what you need to do in the event of emergency. And I will say this, in an earthquake such as what we had last night, it's easy to deal with one of those kinds of things. In a firestorm, you got to get out.